Alright, Chapter 4, Section 8, Controlling Extinguishment Overhaul. Introduction. Hose ladders, pump operations, alarm, reception, response, size up, ventilation, silage, rescue, first aid have been discussed so far. It has been stated that the ideal situation would involve nearly all the procedures must be carried out almost instantly, simultaneously. Personnel rescue is primarily concerned with any of the fire protection organization. When the rescue is accomplished, the secondary concern is the fire control extinguishment and the federal related procedures essential to the preservation of the property. 470s. Locating the fire. Structural fires generally fall into two categories: interior fires, exterior fires. Both the interior and exterior fires involve the same basic materials, but under the greater variable conditions and quantities and proportions. Structural interior fire. The source of the structural interior fire lies inside of the building. The fire may still be in the early stages of the inception. After burning in several hours, because of being confined with the lack of oxygen, even lack of time, it's been not been yet burned through the exterior walls or roof of the building. This situation normally involves the great quantity of the smoke, ventilation problems, backdraft possibilities, along with difficulty finding the actual fire. Cases of sufficiency involved with both the fire protection personnel occupants of the building must be anticipated. This type of the fire normally does not involve exposure to the other buildings unless the roof of the wall is suddenly collapsed. Building collapses emits the oxygen to the fire, expands it, thus endangering nearby buildings and heat radiation. This condition is normally caused by the delay in gaining control of the fire, the arrival, the extensive of the enkindling before the arrival, and widespread smoldering before and sudden ventilation. The structural interior fire must be located in the controlled extinguisher from inside the building. Usually before the fire can be controlled with the extinguisher, it may be located with the structural by some of the degree and certain the fire with the basement. It may appear with the in the attic at the top of the floor with the vault which smoke is coming from. Frequently, smoke with one building may entirely involve the envelop the adjacent building owing to wind conditions. The practice standing of the middle of the street and hand directing the hose string through the windows, regardless of whether their fire may be inside the building, is now largely confined to the movie version of fire. Is not largely confined in the movie version of fire suppression. A hose line should not normally be opened inside the building until the fire is seen, unless the fog certain is necessary to enable the firemen to reach the set of the fire. It is common for an incandescent lamp to appear as a tire in a smoky room. A deceptive condition also can be encountered when approaching the outside of the window or some other transparency with reflects the sunlight and artificial light. B. Structural exterior fire. Structural exterior fire may ignite within the building, burning through the roof or the outside of the wall, so that the fire with the building is ventilated with the burnout opening of the flames visible before the arrival. The exterior fire may also be started within the outside of the building, carelessly discarded with the cigarettes flying, embers falling out of the rooftops, on driving vegetation near the building, or other causes. The exterior fire demands procedure to prevent the fire from spreading to the nearby exposed buildings. 471. Closing in on the fire. If the fire is located, the next step is confining it to a point of origin. It is spread to the controlled oven covering with the internal exposure with a hose that stream that shutting the communications doors and windows. The external exposure shall be covered with other than firefighting use if required, with the greater exposure is usually to the leeward of the fire, although it may be the most difficult to approach to make owing to the windows carrying out the heat of the smoke. The direction of the firefighting is often the greatest possibility for making the fire stop, preventing the fire from identifying the spread. B. Fires cannot be successfully combated with paying undue attention to the however, obviously, the fire is not likely to spread beyond a certain point, such as unpierced brick, wire wall, exterior this is entirely with one room of the building. Needlessly, physical punishment can be avoided with making the approach of the windward side. C. The fire should be attacked with as many of the side as possible. The good ladder work or the proper ventilation available. Assistance must be located with the confining closing on the fire. One of the precautions with repeating when there is the danger of the backdraft subheated with the gases which they have not been ignited over the lack of the oxygen. Be certain that the hose line are in position with the charge before opening up. The condition is usually present with the tight the close of the room and building is recognized by the heavy smoke oozing out of the cracks around the doors and from the beneath the eaves. D. Closing the consistent merely with the moving in one of the fire rapidly conditions permit the hose lines should be not advanced rapidly. However, the fire will be also allowed to rekindle with the gain of the headway with those areas would only initially extinguishment of the taking place. This is especially true for the Class B flammable materials involved with extinguishing agent with the CO2 dry chemical are being used. It must be important to remember that when the agents are used, they should be backed up with water fog, with possibly even with a foam line. The precaution safeguards even against sudden recognition and flashback, which is the substance typical of the Class B fire. Unless later fire is used, the firefighters have been seriously burned because of the failure to observe the precaution for the combating the fire. And in one case, for example, they have involved with the paint room, the lacquer thinner, with the blazing of the floor of the firefighters using carbon dioxide extinguisher to clear a path. Leaking supply tank has been made with the dash of the safety, which in the two were burned with quite badly. The thinner suddenly reignited them behind them. F. More of the firefighters should constantly against the stepping open and shaft of the dark, advancing too far, weakening floor supports. Where caution may be necessary, the firefighter should feel his way through with his feet, even the crawl on his hands and knees. If the large cracks appear in the masonry walls, which may happen with the stream played upon the cause of the contraction of one side while the leaving of the other side expanded, the collapsing may admit the preparation of the withdrawing the personal equipment must be made quickly. G. When advancing radiated heat, the helmet should be turned around so that the broad part of the shield of the face, the part provided with considerable protection along, although it would be not provide safety, actual presence of the flame. Rotating a man in the nozzle of the man, backing up the line of the rear of the front, with enabling each man with the rest of the cool off with the exposure to the heat causing discomfort. The nozzleman is normally only a person subject to any greater degree of heat because of the men behind get considerable protection from even the single person between them and the fire. If it becomes necessary to retreat with the advance the position rapidly, for example, when the water supply fails, causes the hose line to get limp, or the smoke is dense and means that the shape is not readily visible, remember the following hose line backward is certain to lead to the outside of the safety. H. The most suitable extinguishing agent the type of the fire encountered should be used in an amount almost quickly put out with the fire at a minimum damage from its use. Basic factors which must consider with the extinguishment of the fire, the type of the material involved, with the quantity of the material, the details of the arrangement, the ideal situation consisting of open door of the building, extinguishing the fire from the outside where the air is cool and plentiful, for there is little danger of physical abuse. Usually it is not easy, but often firefighters must go inside and move, impede, and increase temperatures. With limited vision, perhaps an almost depleted supply of oxygen standpipe system, which buildings should be used whenever the particular with a safe time for eventual damage. They are practical when the fire is too large to be helped with the check of the first aid. The extinguisher must be not spread so much that to require the volume of the water supplied in a larger line. All right, 472 overall operation involved was a complete detailed check of the structures involved with all material therein. This check is to ensure the complete absence of the abnormal heat and the extinguishing of every spark, so there is definite assurance against reignition. Perhaps the most embracing occurrence with the carrier of the fire, embarrassing occurrence in the career of the firefighting chief that his crew had received an alarm directing for the return of the men with equipment to the scene of the fire, which is recently extinguished. The second fire was frequently more difficult to control than original fire. Before overhauling and started, the first step to survive the building of the structural damage to determine the collapse is not evident. The incident of the water-soaked stock, such as cotton materials, also increase the floor load tremendously. When necessary, as the gas or electricity should be shut off as further precaution. However, the most important aspect of the work is to make certain that the fire is fully extinguished. The building should be checked for the concealable space where the fire may continue to burn or unnoticed. With the space between the floor joints, the ceiling beams, the fault in hanging the ceiling walls, particular portions inside the cornices, inside window door casings, lights, air shifts, pipes, water recesses, chutes, dumb waiter shafts. They may be checked with the sliding of the hand over the surface of the field with the warm and the appeared with the black, and if there is any doubt with the situation, the suspected area must be opened and investigated. The inspection holes should be square opens near the stud in order to avoid unnecessary damage to simplify the repair job. The adjacent areas should be checked thoroughly, including the attics, basement, and wall adjoining the occupancy for possible spread. To make sure the fire will not kindle. Glowing the textiles such as mattress clothing should be submerged in water. Smoldering bales of papers, rags, K-Pop. Similar materials should be removed from the outside broken opening in order to extinguish the deep sea fire in the center. The recent developments in the use of the wetting of agents, the surface activity agents, added water into about 2% concentration and indicated that the future possibility of more quickly, efficiently extinguish fires and materials not potentially relatable by plain water. Such agents would be making it unnecessary to tear up the objects or submerge each fragment in the water surface of the fire. Involved lumber are extinguished quickly, but because of the normal resistance of charcoal to the water, it is possible that heat and the sparks may remain active for some time beneath the surface. Under such a condition, water solutions containing a wetting agent may be effectively used and save time and the damage and energy. Oil-soaked metal fillings, black, and or other finely divided substances should be examined with care because they are possibly sources of reignition cylinders and carboys. Other vessels containing gases and chemicals should be segregated to avoid mingling and result in explosion. 5. Burned materials should be handled with carefully. Clothing, other objects may be contained, but the article's value should not be thrown out of the windows. The necessary to dump debris from the upper floors of the firefighter should be posted below the warn. Others, the danger, particular caution should be taken with the handling of the position of the corrosive substances. Rubbish carriers consisting of old salvage covers cut into the 5 by 5 foot section handles of the corners, provided with the convenient pains of the removing the fall plaster of debris. The burning of the material should be segregated with unburned objects and undamaged goods placed where they will not be subject to damage during the overhaul. Precautions should be taken under the guard against the subsequent injuries. Holes which may be having the burn and cut into the floor should be covered with blocked off. The approaches of damaged stairways evaluated shall be obstructed. Walls and chimneys which may have been weakened seriously, which is in danger of the pedestrian, should be pulled down. If it becomes necessary to respond to another alarm, return to the quarters there. If in the possibility that the fire might rekindle, the firefighter should be left on watch at all times within a line charged for the instant use. Section 9. Investigation and return to service.